when you became a vegetarian, what prompted you to do so? Was it the divinatory dream, or did you run out of money and have to eat beans, or discussions with your friends, or how'd you decide to become one?
Well, honestly, it was a mix of a lot of factors. I think it started when I started getting sick of meat when I lived in Switzerland for 9 months, and they don't have like any type of fish. Well, actually they have, but salmon and maybe frozen one, so not really good, and the meat it's also just too much. So when I go back to Portugal, when I went back to Portugal, I didn't really want to eat any kind of meat, just fish. And then in marine biology and biology, like those are two courses that there's a lot of vegetarians. So I already had some friends and they showed me amazing recipes, and I just started like to learn how to cook with more and more vegetables, and I just really started to like it and see that it's possible to have a very like nutritious and good meal with just vegetables, and that I could be fulfilled for the rest of the day. Also, one thing that helped was that our cafeteria had like 3 types of meals every day. It was one with fish, one with meat, and one for vegetarians, so that makes things a lot easier for people that want to reduce their consumption of meat. And then we also are exposed to a lot of documentaries, and we see how animals suffer, and I don't know, having this contact and like knowing how intelligent the animals are, it just touched my heart. I don't want to eat them. I just don't want to eat them. And then I saw a lot of also documentaries of like how it affects your health. Of course, it's always in an excess if people like abuse meat and everything, but still, I prefer not to eat.
Okay. And why do you suspect that so many of your marine biologist peers are vegetarians?
I think mainly for the same reason. It's health. It's also because they're touched by the animals. Like they have this connection, and once you create and you're like in contact with them, it's like, oh, like I love animals. I don't want to eat them anymore.
I see.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. How about you, Sammy? Are you a vegetarian?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And have you been around vegetarians?
Yes.
Any thoughts on their decision to, for the most part, I'm presuming a little bit, but an awful lot of us have grown up eating meat and are moving away from doing so. Any thoughts on that? Personally, or their choice?
Oh, their choice, I totally understand them, and I also understand the aspect of eating industrial meat, more or less. That's what I don't like either. But when it comes to when the life of the animal was natural and good, then I still think it's acceptable to eat it.
I mean, I don't think it's ever natural. I don't think we are gonna eat like old cows that just died. I mean, they are not so good. Like the meat, it's not so good for you anymore.
When they lived a good life in nature,
okay,
and
so
then you can eat it. But if it's like already growing up under stress, under bad conditions, then I think it's just not good for the animal to just have it this way, to grow it up this way, just to eat it later.
okay.
But if you like shoot a rabbit in the woods and it's dead immediately, you can eat the rabbit. I like that a lot more.
I agree more with that vision. If I would eat meat again, it would be in those conditions. Like I would need to know that the animal was treated good or had a happy life. But I still think it's a luxury if we had like so many options of other types of food.
Show?
Yeah.
We're having porridge for breakfast.
Yeah. I don't.
Your favorite. And we're just talking briefly about the choice to become vegetarian or not. And seems like a lot of people, especially young people, are choosing to forego meat. And I just wondered if you could comment on your personal preferences.
I mean, I'm vegetarian for like 4 years now, as a figured out yesterday, 4.5, I think. Mainly because of moral reasons, I guess. So I don't want to like eat something I have to kill first to eat it after. Like at least not if it's like an animal, like properly alive. Secondly, environmental reasons. I think is like quite an issue. That, like meat consumes a lot of like resources to produce meat, to like grow an animal and kill it. Like consumes a lot of resource. And I personally also believe that it's like at least for most of the meat, it's way healthier to like skip it and to like eat like a balanced, like, and you definitely gotta take care of the vegetarian diet then, but eat like a balanced vegetarian diet. More or less, yeah.
That's well put. Have you any restrictions on eating animal products that do not kill the animal?
I have been like strictly vegan for some time. Back in Germany, where it's way easier to do it. Like when I'm at home, I do my own groceries. So yeah, I've been doing that for like 1.5 years, I guess. Like eating vegan, like sometimes very strictly, sometimes more or less strictly. But I've kind of found it pretty hard doing traveling, especially if you're like together in groups and you cook together, and like other people don't have that preference. So it's just my own idea. Like I would like to eat vegan, but someone else doesn't. So I don't want to make it too complicated. So that's why I'm kind of not doing it. And also just for myself, like in the supermarkets, you don't have like so many like alternative products that I would use in Germany.
So you can be a little flexible situationally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned that environmentally you felt like the resources consumed to produce meat are excessive, or at least a lot more than to consume plants. How do you see that playing out in the future? Not just for yourself, but for, plants, animals, including people going forward.
How do you mean? Like, do you think like the way of the meat production, or the general like way of feeding the population of the earth? Like
Both.
Okay, yeah. Like what I believe, like if we go forward like that, and like if people like nowadays also people start to eat more and more meat like globally. I mean, our Western population kind of starts to decrease, like starts to like eat less meat, but like India, for example, is just discovering meat, and they start to like produce their own industrial meat, and like it's kind of like half knowledge, but like it's almost half of the global CO2 emissions are like produced by like global food production, and meat is like a huge impact on that. Like it's basically logical. Like if I think of like either I eat the soy directly, or there's a cow that eats like the soy 100 times, and then we gotta kill it, and then I just eat like the same amount of like protein whatsoever in the end that I would eat like with just like 2 pieces of soy before. So it just accumulates a lot of like emissions, and I believe like that the way the population on the earth is growing, that we can't really like handle that anymore. Like I mean, just the today situation of CO2 emissions is already like too much. So I believe it's a way to like decrease it. It's definitely not the only way, and there are also other ways, like still eating meat to decrease it in a way, but also like all this whole like organic meat, which might be healthier and also like better for like the life of an animal. It still consumes a lot of like resources and produces a lot of CO2.
Understood. Would you say that human beings choosing to eat meat and specific animals that we prefer over others, how do you think that affects the population, the biodiversity, the opportunity for those species to either flourish or perish, depending on whether or not we're actively trying to encourage them to thrive, or trying to decimate them, inadvertently or not?
Like in a way, as we're trying to like increase the beef production, and that's why we like have a lot of cows in Latin America in the jungle, kind of like.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
just globally.
I mean, we increase like the population, I don't know if you can say, like the number of certain kind of animals, like cows, pigs, whatsoever. a lot, obviously, but it's not like, I mean, it's not in the wild, it's just in a farm. So I don't really know if it's like changing the global, like, down.
To your knowledge, are there any animals that used to be eaten by human beings that are now extinct?
I don't.
Mammoths.
Pardon?
Mammoths.
Mammoths?
Mammoths, I don't have any, like, anything
I don't know.
specific in
I
mind.
honestly don't know.
But I think it's not, for me, it's not so much about like an animal getting extinct because we eat it too much. It's just like every individual animal being like that. Like, I don't want to eat like this individual. It's not like so much like that the race of that kind of animal, like the species of that animal might go extinct. It's more like, because it might actually be the opposite. We get more and more of them because we want to eat them. So
Well, that seems to me to be the pattern, is that if human beings like the taste of a certain animal, they're going to help create and encourage that animal to thrive versus other species.
in a very unbalanced.
And if we don't care for the animals and we don't want to eat them, for instance, or have them in our backyard, we tend to care less about what happens to them, to the point of even allowing them to become extinct, like the dodo bird.
Yeah, I think we can make other animals go extinct because like all the wheat, grass, whatever they need to eat, like we are deforesting other zones, and like other animals are just don't have a home anymore. That's really bad for other species also.
Like, this general principle of us like deciding, oh, we want this animal because we want to eat it, so we're gonna produce a lot of them, and we don't need this animal, so that can go extinct. It's like I just don't like that kind of mindset of like human beings. That like, okay, we're kind of like controlling the animal kingdom, and we need more of those. We don't need those; they can go. It's like, I don't know. There's something kind of fucked up about it for me. So
And let me put it another way then. If we stop eating cows, what's going to happen to cattle?
to cows,
Cattle.
cows, yeah. Like, I mean,
And
first,
bulls.
I mean, cows. The thing is, like, 99% of the cows that live, they just live because we make them live to produce milk, cheese, whatsoever, and meat for us. So, if we stop it like on the day right now, which is not gonna happen, then of course, like all those cows will they will slowly decrease their population because if we feed them, like they can't live like independently of human beings because they only live because we feed them. There are way too many to like live on their own. It's like an unnatural number of cows that exist.
There is a school of thought that says that relationships between living things can be symbiotic, and if we take the point of view of the species cattle, they are using us to propagate and ensure their survival as much as we're using them. Or at least that's a byproduct of our affinity with eating cattle. Could you care to comment on that?
Like, yeah, I mean, the population is growing, but I don't really see like how we make them, like, it's not in a healthy way. It's not like, I mean, yeah, of course they live together with us, but
Not in some places.
how they live,
They're
yeah.
just like in cages, kind of.
Also, they don't live in freedom, obviously, and usually we kind of tend to like, I don't know, like if we change them, like even genetically or not, or like indirectly genetically, we like tend to, like, there's chickens maybe is a good example. There are chickens that they can't even like move anymore. Like they're just like big fat chickens. Like after like 1 month, they have like pain everywhere. They're not like in a healthy state. They're not in a good state. They're just made to be like as big as possible, as fast as possible, so we can eat them after. So I don't really see that as like an evolutionary like advance for them. I don't know. Like I see the idea. It is an interesting thought. Like I think you can say it in a way maybe.
No, I don't think.
But
it's
like the industrial way of producing, I just don't see
the difference is if they domesticate themselves, and they didn't. Cows didn't choose to be with us. Different with a cat. A cat went from the wilderness to us because it saw the benefit, and that's the difference.
How about marijuana?
What about it?
Well, has marijuana chosen to be cultivated and, farmed by us and kept in cellars and, deprived of soil, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
It's really
No, it can't choose, and it's like, and maybe the crux is kind of like the balance in it. Like up to a certain point, you might say, okay, it's just an evolutionary advantage for that kind of plant, but as soon as it gets like to a certain level, it's just like so destructive to anything around it. And like, I mean, we're also kind of like destroying the environment for the cows or for the cattle to like live in the future with the production of cattle itself. So it's not balanced enough. So they might grow and grow and grow their population. But at one point, there's just no basis for it anymore, because like we have this like certain kind of critical point where climate is just like, as science is saying it right now, kind of gonna collapse, and there's no point in having
Your
a bigger
thought on
population.
marijuana?
If it came to us voluntarily,
Is there a symbiosis? Or is it, as you've described, for cattle, which is just pretty much us with the power dominating and subjugating and having our way with marijuana?
I think it's exactly the same as agriculture with the real plants. In the end, we also like cultivate a lot of other plants.
But marijuana people actually turn into marijuana people.
Yeah, it's
Am I
true.
right?
It has power on us.
So
It does.
if you've turned into a marijuana person, my experience is that you really are concerned with maintaining marijuana. Maybe not to the, like, at the expense of living yourself, but certainly almost as importantly. So that would tend to me to say there's a symbiosis going on if marijuana shared that same desire to bond with human beings in a way that helped them to enjoy this planet as, or even just not get killed when there's so many people on the planet that certain things have to go extinct.
Yeah.
Do you see marijuana going extinct? I guess would be a question, yes or no, that we could
I don't,
ask.
because humans gonna prevent it from going extinct.
Do you?
yeah, that's what we do.
Are you going to make?
Growing it.
Are we going to make marijuana extinct?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Are we going to make cows extinct?
No.
No.
Not
Are-
so soon, at least.
Are we going to make tigers extinct?
Potentially.
I think we try to keep all the animals we know and like.
Well, I think some of the species are already extinct anyway.
And the thing is,
Like, it already
tigers,
happened.
there might be like a personal interest for certain people, like an ethical interest to be like, oh, we want to sustain them, we have to like but it's never as strong as like the financial interest that is behind like the cattle production, for example. So tigers are way more likely to go extinct, obviously, and they're about to go extinct. Some of them are going extinct. So
If we ate tigers, would they be on the brink of extinction?
No.
You say no.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I think you have to like differentiate between like living freely in nature or living in a farm. So like you could also say like cows living freely in nature are about to go extinct because we only have the domesticated cow.
Are you now equating morality with natural selection success?
I'm
Saying that those animals that are morally right are going to be more fit than other animals?
I didn't understand the question.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I understood it, but I think, yeah, I mean, if you're just on an evolutionary basis of like, is this animal gonna go extinct or not? Then, whatever, cows are very successful. If you give it like some other like level, and it doesn't have to be like a moral level. I think it's like more like, I mean, it's also kind of intuitive. You see the cow doesn't want to die to be eaten from us. It's not like a voluntary decision. The cow is not like, yeah, I'm going to give myself to you, so I die. So on an individual level,
are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about
How do
that.
you know?
I mean, you can see, if you ever saw like an animal that's about to get slaughtered, doesn't want to get slaughtered.
But
They
is
don't
it
like-
because they don't want to get eaten or they just don't want to die, period?
They don't want to die, of course. They don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, okay.
But all of us apparently, so far, the preponderance of evidence is that all living things perish, except for perhaps amoeba and a few other low-life forms.
But not,
Yeah.
they are being forced. It's not a choice. They're not making the decision. If they want to get killed, it's because their life is so miserable in those conditions that they don't even know what freedom looks like.
If a tiger eats a cow, is
No,
that morally wrong for the tiger to kill it?
No, but that's
Why
that's
not?
the natural
'Cause-
way. I think that feels natural. Like that's their diet. Like in nature, that's how that would happen. That's how evolution. Like
Are human beings natural?
Yeah.
I don't. Yes, but I don't think the way we do things nowadays it's natural. Otherwise,
It's hard to draw the line because you can say like we're natural, so everything we do is natural. Like you can say this pot is also natural because we produce it. We're nature. We take elements out of nature. We do something with them, and we produce a pot. So it's nature. Like everything is nature. Everything that exists is nature in a way. But I think the difference between a tiger eating a cow and us eating a cow is that the tiger doesn't know anything. For the tiger, living equals eating meat, like killing animals. It doesn't have like that, and I don't want to call it moral because moral is like too much of like rules going on, but like this intuitive chance of like judging about it like for yourself. And I don't even know if judging is the right word. But we as human beings, for us, living doesn't equal eating meat. And I mean, obviously we can eat differently, and we also have like this like chance of feeling in our mind, like to not feeling in our mind, but this chance of like realizing we do something, we create pain, we create suffering, and I think like no child whatsoever likes to kill an animal. Like there's always like a certain kind of like going against it, and I think for the tiger, I don't think it's like that. It's a perspective. But,
Sammy, that was an awful long response. Have you forgotten your opinion? Or would you care to share?
You can get together the question again.
Well, he understands the question very well since he answered it for 10 minutes. What's the question?
The question is if it's different if a tiger eats a cow or if we eat the cow. Like what's the moral difference in it? Why is it okay for us if we say, why do we say a tiger can eat a cow and for us there's something bad about it?
Is it natural?
Or isn't it?
Is it natural for us to eat a cow and a tiger to eat the cow, or is there some difference between us and tigers eating cows?
Yeah, I think there's always a limit. The thing is, I think a tiger is trying to catch something, and then he stays with it and eats it till it's gone. We always produce more, throw it away, and then we stepped over this limit. We just produce something even though we don't need it anymore. And when it's then about having living animals and we kill them and then maybe we just use a part of it, or yeah, then I think it's not a good natural way anymore. And so I think what he said already good is that we don't depend on eating meat. We can eat meat, but like the tiger, I guess he doesn't know any other way to give him nutritions to live on, but we can.
And the thing is that we also produce like a lot of waste, and a lot of meat is not even used and just go to trash and everything. But when a tiger kills in nature, it's not only gonna be the tiger that's gonna be fed, also other animals gonna take advantage, or even the rest of the family, let's say, of the tiger that is also gonna be fed. So in the ecosystem, everything is gonna be how do you say, like
Cycled.
Recycled.
Yeah, there's no waste.
Okay. Do you think a plant screams when you cut its stalk?
Well, screams kind of implies pain, and they don't have a nervous system, so I don't think, no, they don't scream.
And
Sammy?
I want to scream.
Do you
But
think they scream?
I never heard one.
I don't think so either.
Okay.
We don't know.
I do
Like
know.
we know that they kind of feel pain in the way we know pain, but we
Yeah.
don't know what else they might be like capable of feeling. Whatsoever.
Yeah.
We can't know
I do know that some plants like release some kind of chemical or like hormones like to the air or through the roots, whatever, to other plants to like warn them of that it's dangerous, so they can produce some kind of like poisonous or something that make, I don't know, whatever it's killing the plant, not to kill it, like to eat or whatever. So they protect themselves that way. But when it comes to pain, I don't think we know enough.
I would offer to support your argument that marijuana people are what marijuana uses to fend off other,
Yeah.
threats. A question for you. There was an experiment done back in the 60s where I believe it was a Russian scientific team, took a bowl of yogurt and put electrodes in it and connected it to an electrocephalogram like we use to measure our brain waves, and then put it in a closed room and took another bowl of yogurt and brought that bowl of yogurt into the room with the first electrified bowl of yogurt, metered. And the electrical activity of the yogurt changed dramatically in the room when the second bowl entered.
I guess
Okay.
yogurt has a lot of like probiotics, like bacteria and stuff, so
Well,
they can send.
it's alive.
Yeah, it's alive.
So we can say, without having a whole lot of collaborative evidence or double blinds, it isn't maybe a repeated experiment, but we can say that yogurt knows when yogurt comes into the room. Would you agree?
I don't know. I really never thought about this, but
Would you agree? Can
In
we
a way,
agree?
yeah,
Can we
like,
at
it
least
depends-
agree that
depends
that's
on how you
the
define
theory
yogurt. It depends on how
that
you
needs
define
to
yogurt.
be further vetted by multiple experiments at exhaustive lengths by top universities with major funding?
well, that's true. But in a way, I think everything that it's alive has like kind of the will to live. I think it's in our genetics. I mean, that's how evolution happened. Like, to get better and better in competition, in symbiosis, like all of that. So we can't get to the extreme of like thinking about all the living things because, well, we also need to survive. I mean, for me, when it comes to like the matters of being vegetarian or not, is just, I think it's a luxury to eat animals, and of course, like, because they have more like they express themselves, like they're living beings, like we can connect with them in a emotional way, let's say, and they are also like more next to us in an evolutionary like branch. I think it touches our hearts a bit more, but I think for example bacteria, we can even control that. Like they live inside of us, has a symbiosis, like we live with them in this world. Like we can get to the extreme of like not eating or do anything because they're just all around us. Like we still need to survive, right?
If we were to formulate a hypothesis, what would we think is going to happen when we took that first bowl of yogurt and dangled it over a pot of boiling water and slowly lowered it in? What will happen to the bowl and the electroencephalogram output
Well,
of the yogurt?
I don't know.
Will it change?
Yeah, probably.
Do we have any theory that we'd like to test of how it might change, or to what degree it might change, or what that change might represent to the life, well-being, and just enjoyment that bowl of yogurt is experiencing?
Hard to say. I mean, what I guess is like, as she was saying before, like there's bacteria in the yogurt, and they're gonna have like some kind of natural reaction to heat. So something is gonna change. But what that implies, we're far from knowing that, I guess. So like, it's,
I guess what I'm saying
I don't know
is,
if we can ever know.
if it does change, are they just excited to about to become porridge for us? Could they be excited to become
Excited or
porridge?
afraid? Huh? We don't know.
We don't know.
The bacteria doesn't need necessarily to eat, to die. They can just survive on our guts. It can even be better for them. They have more nutrients and everything.
After we boil them?
After we boil them. Well, some of them maybe.
Well, this has been a delightful exploration of your views. Thank you very much for sharing them. And I am looking forward to finishing my bowl of yogurt that has some extra zing of animal product on it.
You see, I didn't put that milk.
Love that milk.